Last night, I had a dream. When I got to Africa, I had one hell of a rumble. For this fight, I've wrestled with alligators. I've tussled with a whale. I done handcuffed lightning and put thunder in jail. When George Foreman meets me, he'll pay his debt. I can drown a drink of water and kill a dead tree. Wait till you see Muhammad Ali.
Well, I think one of the most powerful things about still photography is the aspect of time. Time never stops, yet still photography always stops and captures a moment in the ceaseless flow of time. It began for me at 4:30 in the morning when I got a knock on the door and his manager said, "Grab your pants and your camera, the champ is running." The next thing I know, I'm in a car, very slowly moving along this Pennsylvania country road, and up ahead is Muhammad Ali. In the 70s, there was a magazine published in New York. It was called New Times Magazine, and it did pieces on cultural and political trending events. As a freelance photographer, I did a lot of work for them. They had an article that had been written about Ali's preparation, both spiritual and otherwise, for the coming heavyweight championship fight in Zaire, Africa. This is August 1974. About a month before the fight that became known in Ali's phrase as the Rumble in the Jungle. I didn't know a lot about boxing, but I knew what an extraordinary human being Muhammad Ali was. He had been the heavyweight boxing champion of the world, but it was stripped from him several years before when he had refused to be drafted at the height of the Vietnam War. He was arrested, he was prosecuted. So this fight was his attempt, his chance to regain the title. George Foreman, his opponent, had never lost a fight. He was brutal. He was known in knocking people out in the first round. He had what were called wrecking ball arms and so forth. The world was focused on his fate at this point. Some of his own people were really scared about, what would happen to him, that he would be damaged and so forth. In the long haul, the magazine, I think, used 3 pictures. I shot 33 rolls in 2 days. Ali said nobody had ever taken so many pictures of him before. So there it was before dawn. I got out of the car and raised my camera, and the first picture I took was Muhammad Ali basically running into the rising sun. A little later, I would be in and out of the car, shooting in front and back. And when he finished his 5-mile run, he was cooling down. He was punching the air, and I was shooting, and we hadn't said anything, nobody around. And he said, "Get this." And I raised the camera, and he lifted up his sweatshirt and the rubber liner underneath it, and the sweat poured out. He said, "This is called letting out the sweat." And I realized at that moment that Ali really understood that I was not interested in him posing and mugging, but interested in his process. What I had fallen into was the idea of being with this man for the next 48 hours and photographing basically everything that he did. We were riding back from this dawn training session, and we're at the entrance to his camp. I said, "I'd like to take a picture of you here at the entrance." I was waiting for him to put up his dukes and crouch and classic champ shot. But he stood up and he just dropped his arms and he was completely passive. I've never seen a picture before or since of Ali passive. Muhammad Ali had trained for a long time at the the notorious Fifth Street gym in Miami, and they were challenging conditions, to say the least. The people around him felt he was the champ, he deserved a really good place to train, and so found this piece of land in Deer Lake, Pennsylvania, which was about midway between New York and Washington. Ali felt this would be a sanctuary where he could withdraw from the world and prepare himself for any kind of fight. I didn't really have any preconceived ideas of what I would find. I'd never been to a training camp, but I knew what an extraordinary character Ali was. That's the part that really interested me most. As it turned out, virtually everything I saw was a surprise. A lot of subjects that I photographed have been people involved in creative processes. And it absolutely was the case with Muhammad Ali. There was something new that he was in the process of revealing to the world. I photographed him in his gym, the log cabin gym, jumping rope, training in front of a mirror, on the punching bag. Stokely Carmichael, the black activist, was there watching him. There was a woman actress and writer who he sat with, and there were tape recorders in the picture where he had played her some of his poetry. He was giving a talk on freedom, I think. He was interested in her ideas. He went to a local gym and did a performance, an exhibition match. There's a picture I really like a lot of him from behind, and there may be, a couple hundred people in the picture, and virtually everyone is grinning, is clapping, is taking a photograph. It's Ali, it's Muhammad Ali, he's here. I got in the car, I didn't know where we were going, and we pulled up to a nursing home. Ali was welcomed by the head of the home and toured, went through, and it was a ball for the people there. And he clearly got as much as he gave in that situation. He loved people, they were very important to him. He came up to one old man, and a nurse who was standing nearby said, "Do you know who this is?" It was kind of hard of hearing. He said, "Yes, Joe Louis." And Ali was kind enough and sophisticated enough to let it pass and let the man enjoy the fact that he had met the great fighter, Joe Louis. Everywhere he went, he was the eye of the image, the focus. He was like a magnet with iron filings arranging themselves around him. He was away from the spotlight. I felt that he was comfortable in this situation. There's a great connection between magic and the visual arts. I mean, magic is a visual phenomenon. I discovered it one amazing weekend when I was, 7 or 8. A wonderful aunt I had, she took me to a magic show. And then she took me that night to the back room of a restaurant where the magicians who had performed were all meeting. And the next day, she taught me some tricks. I got right into it. What appealed to me was the idea of creating something that would astonish people. I would do a trick and people would be amazed. The appeal of photography is essentially the same thing. To create a visual experience for people that they find involving and perhaps, above all, mysterious. Here I am, not knowing a lot about boxing, finding myself with my magical recording device, the camera, in the presence in the sanctuary of the most famous man on the planet. People with cameras lead peculiar and magical lives. A lot happened in a very short period of time, all part of his imaginative formula for success. He knew what he needed. He had the right people around him in this sanctuary to nourish himself, to prepare himself, to feel powerful, you know, be the champ, to feel witty and amusing and loved and all of that stuff. He not only succeeded in winning by using rope-a-dope, in which he laid back for several rounds on the ring and took this fantastic beating. His success in triumphing, in winning, meant a lot, and still to this day means an enormous amount to a lot of people. After this, for several years, he kept boxing, long past when he should have. His own doctor, Ferdy Pacheco, who said Ali was the most physically perfect specimen he'd ever known. I mean, he would heal immediately when he was injured. But as time went on and Ali continued to fight and take beatings, his brain was damaged when he suffered. What he accomplished, I would say, spiritually, as well as physically, to be his own man, to be witty, to be sharp, smart, and ultimately, you know, very much a humanitarian. I mean, I think that's certainly what the world needs more of. As soon as that was done and those pictures were turned into the magazine, you know, real life takes over and you're on to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing, and that's that. You shoot something and it takes time to become historical. And they're in the present, you know, and then they're a week old, and then they're 2 years old, and then, you know, a decade has passed since you took them, and you look back and they begin to have a value that you didn't realize at the time that they had. And the more time that passes, you begin to accept that you've really created something valuable and interesting. It took me a long time to lay claim to these photographs. When I look back on them now, I'm pretty impressed that I was able to accomplish what I did. That I had captured an extraordinary person at a unique moment in their own history and in the cultural history of the time.